The token side is all noise. The price of tokens are noise. That has nothing to do with the foundational value of crypto. For crypto, business is business. The beauty of crypto is that it can make a business better. It creates new opportunities to run a business. And where you see value, that's probably a good place to look to invest. And where you find yourself using the tokens, the way to figure out what you should look at investing is to look at what you buy and use. Those are the tokens I want to own because I use them. I'm never a big fan of raising hundreds of millions of dollars to do tens of millions in business, but that's exactly what happened in crypto. But crypto was distorted because people looked at the token valuations. And so what would happen is they'd go out and do a token sale and generate a bunch of capital, or even worse, they'd raise hundreds of millions of dollars from VCs and use that money to create a fake yield. All that yield was subsidized. All those 5, 7, 8, 10, 20, 50, 90, 100% yields have always been subsidized by investors. Now with those investors not willing to subsidize anymore, you're not seeing the crazy yields. And you're not even seeing the inflationary yields from the blockchains anymore. And they can't even afford to do that because, if you inflate too much, there's not enough intrinsic demand to cover that inflation, and your token price is going to drop, and that makes your investors mad, that makes your speculators mad. And it ignores the fact that to be a real business, you have to be a real business. And crypto doesn't change any of that. Obviously, it's great to go proof of stake and proof of work, right? For all the environmental reasons. Then with 1559, you're going to potentially have deflation, right? So that brings up an interesting corollary. Inflation versus utilization. Because as utilization goes up and the value of a token goes up, then the cost to do something goes up. And so you have these two competing interests. Hey, I want to create an app that generates 1 million NFTs a day, right? Just picking something out of left field, right? I'm not saying there is one. Well, if the value of Ethereum keeps on going up because there's a deflationary spiral going on because of 1559, now all of a sudden, where's the equilibrium? Ethereum really becomes valuable again is when the applications are there. Because if you think about it, there's no deflation if there's no applications use. Because 1559, it requires applications, and just buying Ethereum from somebody doesn't generate any of that. ETH has been my most successful by far, with Bitcoin right behind. I did really well with Helium. But I sold right at the top. I got lucky, And in terms of one I missed out on, none that I really wish, because I got in early enough that a lot of them were really cheap. I could take flyers, buying Polygon in under a penny, those types of things. So there hasn't really been one that I've truly missed out. Now I've timed some of them wrong. I lightened up on a bunch of stuff on Ethereum and Bitcoin. So I lightened up, and some I got out really well, and some I sold lower than where it is now, but that's okay. The token side is all noise. The price of tokens are noise. That has nothing to do with the foundational value of crypto. Put aside Bitcoin. Bitcoin's store of value, right? You can argue about Lightning and all this stuff, the maxis argue, but it's not really an extensible platform. It's not extensible enough to build applications on yet. Which is a whole other question. If you can, if you're willing to change it, that creates all kinds of other questions about Bitcoin and what the maxis think. But I think what really comes to play for me is the idea of distributed applications driven by smart contracts. So I mentioned being able to use, to create carbon offsets. So the question, somebody like Bill would come back and say is, well, why do I need tokens? Why does that matter, right? Why don't I just create something that's easy to buy, a certificate? Well, the difference is the standards that are in place so that royalties or storage or exploring those things aren't necessarily available through traditional database applications. I think DAOs also have a unique opportunity, not so much because everybody gets to vote, but more because it forces organizations to structure themselves differently. An organization that is vertical is always going to have a hard time overcoming its hierarchy. Whereas a DAO is vertical at some levels, but it's still smushed vertical, right? So that the people who start the DAO control everything, no matter how much you want to lie to yourself about how open-ended it is, right? But at the same time, as it starts to evolve and new things come in, there's a voice to the token holders that isn't available in a traditional organization, and there's not the standard hierarchy, if it's done right, that is typical to an organization. And so getting rid of that hierarchy that traditional corporations have is a huge step forward for a lot of different types of companies. For crypto, business is business. The beauty of crypto is that it can make a business better. It creates new opportunities to run a business, and that's a beautiful thing. It globalizes in a way that is not easy to do with traditional business and so many other things. But there has to be a business there. There has to be utility. And don't let yourself get sucked in based off of the value of tokens or what direction they go up or down. Look at the utility and the value to you as a consumer, as a person, however you want to look at it. And where you see value, that's probably a good place to look to invest. And where you find yourself using the tokens, actually using them for something in your life, that's probably the best way. There's this old school guy named Peter Lynch, and he used to give advice on investing. And he would say, well, the way to figure out what you should look at investing is to look at what you buy and use. Crypto is the exact same thing. If all you're doing is looking at it and saying, go up, please, when go up, when go up, when go up, right? And you find yourself all caught up in crypto speak, you're fucked, right? If you find yourself using this and thinking, oh my God, this has changed my life, I really need this. Just think back to your first, phone. Think back to using certain applications. That's how, I make determinations on what crypto I invest in. Is there an application or applications that I think are game-changing, world-changing? Those are the tokens I want to own because I use them.